I'm aware that the Huawei P40 Pro is the newer, flashier flagship smartphone out there, and I'm also aware that the Huawei P40 Pro has topped the DxO mark rating for the best flagship camera out there. Now, while we wait for that camera beast here at Mr. Phone, we have the other camera beast, the S20 Ultra, with us, and therefore I decided to compare it against the S20 Plus, which is incidentally shooting this video, and the iPhone 11 Pro. So, what are we waiting for? Without wasting any more time, I'm Ershad from Mr. Phone, and let's get down to this lockdown camera battle. And I hope you guys are staying home and staying safe. But before we move on, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever Mr. Phone puts out an awesome new tech video. Also, we do a lot of Insta lives over at Instagram, so don't forget to go and check out our Instagram handle in the link below. Plus, also we have a Telegram community where a lot of people keep talking about technology. So if you want to be a part of that community, link should be available in the description below. I'm switching up the labeling of my pictures slightly this time. I'm going to specifically focus on key photography terms. Let me know if you guys find this a better way to do it. Now let's start with the color accuracy of the image algorithms used by Samsung and Apple. In the first picture, we can clearly see that the iPhone 11 Pro gets the blue color of the sky absolutely right. Samsung tends to shoot the saturation of the reds, blues and the greens slightly to make it look more appealing. Note that I had upgraded to the latest software on all the three phones. Samsung has made a ton of tweaks to the camera algorithm and app for improved performance as well. Now the second image clearly showcases that the iPhone 11 Pro tends to make the whites warmer. And I have noticed this while shooting indoors under a tube light as well. There is definitely a white balance correction issue that crops up every now and then. You can also notice that the strip of orange and red bleed into each other in the S20 Plus and S20 Ultra samples because of the oversaturation of reds. In fact, the third and final image in this test showcases that the iPhone 11 Pro has a far more accurate representation of the reds, blues and greens. Now take a look at the red bottle or the green organic tea box for reference. But to be entirely honest, the color differences are not so much that the Galaxy S20 series looks bad or anything. It is just that the iPhone 11 Pro goes for a more accurate color palette. Alright, the dynamic range performance of flagships showcases how good the cameras really are. I pointed the phones directly at the sun to see how they fare. Clearly the iPhone 11 Pro has done an incredible job of picking up more information from the shadows or the darker portions of the image. Take a closer look at the bottom left corner of the image around the table. And the same holds true for the wide angle camera as well. Against the light, the iPhone 11 Pro does a far better job of dynamic range correction. The iPhone's HDR algorithm is undoubtedly better than what Samsung has managed. Now let's take a look at the sensor details and the texture. Starting with the picture of the chair, 100% crop reveals that the throw blanket on the chair looks slightly crisper on the iPhone 11 Pro. But when it comes to the other parts of the image, such as the lower portion of the chair near the legs, the S20 Ultra is evidently more detailed. Plus the iPhone 11 Pro has noise around the shadows in the image. Corner sharpness is also better on the S20 Ultra. The 9:1 pixel binning is working exceptionally well for the S20 Ultra here. Also, the bigger 108MP sensor is definitely coming in handy. Now in the second image, the iPhone 11 Pro does exceptionally well with respect to textures. If you look at the PepsiCo building or the other taller structures behind it, the iPhone 11 Pro does a fabulous job of keeping things crispy. This is true for corner sharpness as well. Take a look at the bottom right corner. However, around the left corner, the S20 Ultra pulls it back with sharp details. Overall, the S20 Ultra and the iPhone 11 Pro offer sharper details at 100% crops compared to the S20 Plus. In fact, the S20 Ultra benefits tremendously from the massive 108MP sensor. In telephoto shots, the S20 Ultra clearly has an edge over the other two phones. The 5x periscope lens is extremely crisp and has very good zooming capabilities. Starting with the 2x optical zoom, the first thing you will notice is the iPhone does a better job of picking up details from the shadows. Essentially, the iPhone's camera algorithm is better with telephoto shots as well when it comes to HDR performance. But the subject under focus here is Mesa, and the natural details of Mesa are the best on the S20 Plus, followed by the iPhone 11 Pro and the S20 Ultra. However, the S20 Plus has definitely added a red tint to Mesa's original color here. Now jumping to 5x optical zoom and cropping into Misa's face, you can see that the S20 Ultra beats the competition raw. You can see minute details on the strands of hair, plus there is more detail around her hind legs as well. At 10x zoom, once again the S20 Ultra software does an excellent job of hybrid zoom, and you have a completely usable picture too. Unfortunately, the S20 Plus looks like a watercolor painting, and it is the iPhone 11 Pro that looks better in comparison when you're looking at 10x shots. Now with the S20 Ultra and the S20 Plus, you can go up to 30x, but you can see that the picture quality at this level of zoom is not that great. And at 100x zoom of the S20 Ultra, it is even worse. Having said that, if you want to do up to 10x zoom, the S20 Ultra can do some wonders. In fact, most of the times, the pictures are absolutely useful. The best new feature addition to these phones is the fact that night mode also works with the telephoto camera. And in that scenario, again, the S20 Ultra benefits tremendously. Just look at how close I could zoom in and the kind of picture I could take. Now, when it comes to the ultra wide angle cameras on the phones, the S20 series offers crisper details around the corners. The center sharpness is almost identical on all the three phones as is visible when you zoom in. Moreover, these phones maintain color processing parity across different lenses. So that's a good thing. However, the barrel distortion correction around the edges is far better on the iPhone 11 Pro, and that is very important for an ultra wide angle camera. Having said that, the iPhone doesn't have the option to use night mode with the ultra wide angle camera, which is a letdown. But if you look at the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra, you will see that the night mode on the ultra wide angle camera is pretty useful. And I really like the S20 Ultra's shot better here, primarily because of the more accurate color reproduction compared to the oversaturated S20 Plus sample. One of the problems with the massive sensor on the S20 Ultra is the plane of focus. You will see that when you are shooting a close-up of a subject, many times it ends up defocusing the other parts. This kind of natural blur is great and sometimes even negates the need for a dedicated portrait mode, but you have to frame the shot accurately to ensure vital areas don't go out of focus. In this case, the iPhone 11 Pro looks very good, and this issue, if it is being considered as one, has already been highlighted by many reviewers. I don't think this is that much of an issue, it's just a characteristic of the large sensor itself. Another problem with the S20 series that was highlighted by the initial set of reviewers was the problem with autofocus while switching between subjects while shooting videos. That problem seems to have been resolved using the new update. However, the S20 Ultra still falters once in a while. For example, you can see that in the first few seconds of this testing sample, you can see that there is a bit of a jitter. And in fact, the iPhone 11 Pro does a phenomenal job of smooth focus switching here. It doesn't really feel like it has dropped focus even for a second. There's no jerkiness on the iPhone 11 Pro, which is actually visible on the S20 phones. What I like about the selfies captured by the S20 Ultra is that it does a very accurate job of rendering the facial tones. And the details are also crisper on Samsung's S series phones. The advantage for the S20 Ultra is that it can also shoot a high resolution 40 megapixel shot. So if you want to see the texture of the pores on your face, then you can use this mode. When you are shooting selfies against the light, again, the S20 series is better. You can also bank on the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra for low light selfies because you get a dedicated night mode. Now ideally, most night mode solutions go for brighter pictures, but with selfies, the S20 series goes for details. Now ideally, most night mode solutions go for brighter pictures, but with selfies, the S20 series goes for details. It has the noise under control, which is not true for the iPhone 11 Pro. Overall, I'd go with the S20 series for selfie pictures. Let's talk about portraits, and the one thing that the iPhone 11 Pro does right is expose the face evenly and get the facial tones right. But the depth cutout is still pretty aggressive, and that affects the edge blurring, especially around my beard. The Samsung phones have done an incredible job of semantic segmentation compared to the iPhone 11 Pro. In selfie portraits, except for the slight color temperature differences, there's not much of a difference in edge blurring out here. So when it comes to portraits, you can't go wrong with the Samsung S20 series or even the iPhone 11 Pro. I mean, it's quite equal on all the three phones. Alright, now let's shoot some videos, shall we? We know by now that the S20 series can shoot 8K videos as well, but this feels like a mere flexing tactic. The 8K shooting is limited to 24 FPS and there is a lot of rolling shutter as well. Plus, where will you actually watch 8K content? Even 8K TVs aren't a thing yet, let alone content. Therefore, the best test would be to check the 4K 60 FPS recording on all the three phones. And in this testing, I noticed that Apple uses a lower bitrate compared to S series phones, but the footage from the S20 series and the iPhone 11 Pro actually looks pretty comparable in terms of details. However, similar to what we saw with the image processing, the iPhone 11 Pro tends to offer better dynamic range. On the flip side, the S20 series has slightly better audio quality. Stabilization doesn't look as impressive in the S20 series here because I was holding both the phones in my hands. So essentially it is equally good on the iPhone and the S20 series. I'm talking about stabilization.
Hey guys, I'm shooting a 4K 60 FPS video inside my house because social distancing and whatnot. But there's good amount of light coming inside my house using, and I'm shooting using the S20 and the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra. And you can see as I pan around slightly and show you guys what happens and how it looks when I shoot, that it is slightly better or worse. Yeah, but this is what it looks like right now. It's lovely weather though, must say that.
Now when it comes to selfie videos, all the phones are equally excellent with excellent audio as well. The stabilization is equally good on all the phones and so are the details. However, the dynamic range performance of selfie cameras while shooting videos is better on the S20 Ultra and the S20 Plus for sure.
Hey guys, now I'm shooting a 4K 60 FPS video using the front camera on both the phones. It's well lit up honestly, and you can see what it looks like when the light is against me. And I'm shooting using both the phones right now. And I'll pan around and turn around slightly to show you guys what it looks like. The light, I keep saying S20 for some reason. And I pan around slightly and I show you guys what it looks like when the light falls on me. And it's a little harsh even now.
Now let's take a look at our low light samples, and the iPhone 11 Pro uses night mode by default, for any low light shots the moment it automatically detects it. And in this sample you can see that it is only slightly better than the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra without night mode. But with night mode turned on, the S20 Plus and S20 Ultra magically add so much more exposure that it is not a true representation of the scene. But it looks so good. A brighter exposure is always good, plus the details look crisper too. But the S20 Plus is more saturated compared to the S20 Ultra. For some odd reason though, in our second sample at 100% crop, the S20 Plus looks more detailed than the S20 Ultra. In fact, the S20 Ultra's sample looks too soft, which is the case in the first picture as well. But I reshot a couple of low light sample and it was always the case that the night mode shots were softer for some odd reason. That could also be because of the really long 8-second exposure, but I'm just guessing out here. Now, when we switch to the night mode shots, and this is where you see that the S20 Ultra's big lens comes in handy, you get a brighter exposure and more details as well, and with night mode on, the overall picture looks really good. And of course, the S20 Ultra would be my camera of choice. Now, as far as the throw of LED flash is concerned, the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra are ever so slightly better. They don't particularly make it well exposed compared to the iPhone or anything, but the details at close crop are far more resolved. For example, when you take a look at the books in the bookshelf, and the names of the books are legible on the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra. Plus, the Dyson air purifier to the right looks sharp, in focus, and with better noise control as well. And between the S20 Ultra and the S20 Plus, it is mostly a battle of color temperatures, and the S20 Ultra gets it right, and therefore the S20 Ultra becomes my de facto choice for flash pictures. So after testing all the three phones, I'm convinced that the iPhone 11 Pro is the camera smartphone to beat. Even today, for most shooting scenarios, the iPhone 11 Pro does an incredible job. Having said that, when I'm shooting zoom photos or when I'm shooting low light photos, I might miss the S20 Ultra. You know what? The S20 Ultra and the S20 Plus both have exceptional hardware, and for most part, they also take great pictures with great details as well. But the iPhone 11 Pro has these phones beat when it comes to dynamic range performance and color accuracy, and that's what matters in most of the shooting scenarios as well, because the sensor details are almost on par with the Samsung Galaxy S20 series as well. So which is why I think that the iPhone 11 Pro is still the overall best camera phone out there, but the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra especially comes really close. So what do you guys think? That's it from me. I'm Ershad from Mr. Phone. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye and Godspeed, my friends.